Good morning out there, traders. It is March 26, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. Let's dive into our recap, and then we will update our levels and session plan for today. So taking a look at what's going on here, from yesterday, we had basically a dissonant area in between a bearish zone and a bullish zone. The bearish zone was our scenario one because it was the more recent information that we had in that market. So we were essentially looking to be more bearish during the session. And the session really didn't do much, right? It was pretty sideways for the remainder of the day. There were opportunities with intraday framework stuff that we use as Nadro traders from a lot of these highs, these rotational highs as we call them, to get a little bit of MFE, some low level type of movement to the downside, but not much else out of that day. It was very very balanced, very very rotational as a day where we really didn't see a lot of release from the market, and that happens sometimes. If you were trading, these DMIs just by levels, you didn't really get a trade yesterday. You had an idea that you were essentially bearish from this area. It never pulled back deep enough to get there. So it was really just out in open space for the whole session and not much else to do. So that's pretty much the recap from yesterday. Let's dive into what's going on today. Now, taking a look at what's going on today, we have at least some areas now that have a little bit more meaning for our short-term auction. And what I mean by that is we have a situation where we have dissonance. Yeah, we're in dissonance again. We have a bearish idea up against a bullish idea. But after that clears out, if it clears out, we start to see a shift in one direction or the other. So we have a situation where if we remain inside of these bearish and bullish zones, we end up seeing something a little bit more rotational. We start holding inside a value. We end up seeing something more like that. If we break outside of it, we start to see something that's a little bit more trend-like and the beginnings of some decent movement for bulls or bears. Now, will that play out? How far it goes? None of that is predictable, right? We don't have those expectations. What we do have is we trade what is, right? What's happening in this market, and then we just position ourselves accordingly for a better risk-reward landscape. So we don't predict anything here. We just look at what's the setup, how's it playing out on multiple time frames, and we position ourselves from there. So in this particular situation we have with today's DMI, our scenarios are pretty straightforward. We have the what is picture right now, which is remain inside of this area here. And this would be more of a balanced type of day, more of a rotational type of day, hanging in this area. If we break outside of that, we start to make some moves in terms of value away from value. If we go to the upside, that would be scenario two. Scenario two, a break of this bearish line in the sand area. We go to the upside. Our first immediate target is right here. Our more intraday like destination type of target is up here at the 53.21s, and that would be kind of the main scenario for scenario two. If things get extremely bullish on scenario two, we do have a stretch target up above out here in the 53.40s. Okay, but that's for the furthest stretch targets for a very bullish type of day. To the downside, right? So we have scenario one staying roughly in this zone. Scenario two, we break out above it, start to see up movement. Scenario three is going to be a breakdown, right? So if we break down this bullish area, we're looking for a move down into this neutral zone here. If we clear out of that neutral zone, we look for the continuation down into this main bullish line here, which is a bullish idea. So that's something to pay attention to if we do get down in there for stretch targets and stuff like that. But that's really scenario three's main destination is down here in the 52.62s. And then from there, we would just monitor this bullish area if there was any type of inflection to the upside and maybe a return back up into this area. And that would be kind of the way today's DMI structure is laid out in terms of scenarios, in terms of expectations, and targeting. Now, obviously, these areas right now are colored the way they are based on the what is picture. But if we break up above, obviously this becomes a little bit more of a bullish area. If we break down below, this becomes a little bit more of a bearish area. If we break down below this neutral zone, this also becomes a bearish area to pay attention to as well, because it actually would be more of like a trade setup for us on a specific time frame to the downside for continuation. So something to pay attention to and be aware of as the session develops. Trade well out there, mind your risk, trade your process, and make that the key thing that you're doing today, right? That's how we define every winning day, not by P&L, by how well we traded and executed our process.